Right, Scott Brown's final ever home game as a Celtic player ends in victory, and a pretty comprehensive one at that. Goals from David Turnbull, Odsonne Edouard, Christopher Ayer and Karamoko Dembele seal a 4-0 win over St Johnstone. You are watching 67 Hail Hail. It's our first ever three-man reaction panel. We're just trying out something new. Ryan has joined the 67 Hail Hail fleet. Say hello, Ryan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Hi guys, how you doing? It's good to start off with a win. Usually I'm a jinx for these sorts of things, so it's good to get us going with a win.
Yeah, good to have you on. Just tell us your thoughts on the game tonight then. Obviously, it's about as meaningless a Celtic game as you'll come across, apart from the whole Scott Brown stuff. But we did win 4-0 against a side who are going to be going for, 2/3 of the domestic trophies in a couple of weeks. So it was a good evening.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was nice to get a 4-0 resounding victory over the most successful team in Scotland this season. Yeah, it was pretty comfortable. I thought St Johnstone started well for the first 15 minutes, but once we got the first goal off a great finish by David Turnbull, I thought it was plain sailing. We did get a wee bit sloppy in the second half, I would say, for 15-20 minutes, but we finished off well with two good goals at the end.
David, I've fed up talking about most of these Celtic players, and I'm going to continue that even though we won 4-0 tonight. What did you think of the game? Is there anyone you want to pay special mention to?
I think the obvious one outside of Scott Brown for the game alone tonight would be Adam Montgomery. I thought he had a really, really good debut tonight, Hamish. Not going to talk about any negatives they might have shown because he's a young player. It's a hellion occasion, your Celtic debut, regardless of what game it is, regardless of where it is. And I thought he took the responsibility on really well tonight. He didn't look for the safe option, which really impressed me. I thought he was always looking to take risks. He was bombing forward, getting beyond Mohamed El Younousi, just giving us an extra outlet. There was some real promising signs there. I thought he had a very, very good game. You can be really satisfied with his performance tonight. In terms of other good performers, I mean, you're right, a lot of these players we just don't want to talk about. But I thought Turnbull had another good game tonight. Just looking at some of the players that will be here next season, I thought he had one of the more standout performances. But I do think sort of all round the team clicked well tonight. It's meaningless, like you said. It's not going to do anything in the context of a season. It's as meaningful as a pre-season friendly. But if we're taking tonight in isolation, it was a good watch. It was an enjoyable performance. They looked really sharp, and it means absolutely nothing.
That's it. No, I thought, going back to Montgomery, I thought he put in a good display. I'd be interested to know if he was a winger back in the day because he certainly plays in that kind of way.
He was a centre forward, wasn't he? He started off as a centre forward, sure, aye.
Right.
Sure
I'm not surprised with that, but the comparisons already people are making with Kieran Tierney, and if I think back, I think Kieran Tierney made his debut in a kind of end of season game against St Johnstone, albeit in Perth. So hopefully if Montgomery can go on to be, half the player Kieran Tierney was for Celtic, will be on to a winner there. But I thought he was good. That was the main thing I took out of his game, David, was that, when you're a youngster going into any sort of game, and you're the only youngster in the team, I think it's different if there's like 4 or 5 of you in a League Cup game, but if it's just you, he wasn't just playing the simple pass. He wasn't just trying to get by in that game. He was actually trying things. I think the first thing he did was kind of stride forward into the St Johnstone pass, and he tried to play it through, I think, for either Turnbull or Edouard. Didn't quite come off, but he looked quick, which you would obviously hope for an 18-year-old as a fullback. Didn't see enough of him to be able to make a full judgment on his crossing and stuff like that and his end product, but promising anyway. And if he could be our third choice left back and get some minutes next season, I think that would be a good thing. Ryan, thoughts on the debut boy?
Yeah, I think the best thing you could probably say, or the most positive thing you could say about him, he didn't really look out of place. He didn't look like a youngster in the team. I didn't think anyway. I thought he looked pretty comfortable on the ball. He was going for the more difficult passes. He wasn't playing it safe, which you sometimes see with youngsters getting their first sort of game in the first team. But I thought he'd done really well. He was one of the standouts in this game for sure.
Favourite goal, lads? What do you think out of the 4?
I thought Edouard's was top class, but my favourite one, what I got most enjoyment from was Karamoko Dembele's. I thought it was a superb finish.
First and last, do you think, for the club?
No, I don't. I think he'll be here next season, and I'd like to see him get more game time if he is. I think it's time to stop hiding Dembele in the academy and start giving him some minutes. I think he's now... Is he 18? Is he 17? I'm not sure. Either or, he's ready to get some senior minutes. We're going to have a right wing problem next season because we've only got James Forrest scheduled to be there. So, there's an opening there. Let's see if Dembele's got something that we can use next season. I think a year ago he would have tried to have taken that in his left peg. I think he would have allowed the defender to get back across him and try and curl it past the goalkeeper. But it was a real mature finish and just a moment of class, and it sort of rounded the day off really well.
Yeah, he just turned 18 a couple of months ago, Karamoko Dembele. He did take it well. I'm just going to sound like the absolute doom monger in this, and I know that's just my gimmick now in the channel, but I'm yet to see enough physicality from him. He's clearly got the talent, he's clearly got the pace, he's clearly got the ability. You saw that in his finish. He can beat a man. I'm still yet to see him shrugging someone off, and maybe he'll never be that kind of player. Maybe he'll just be a winger who will beat men and not have to shrug them off, but I still think he's got a lot of developing to do.
To be fair, we've not really seen him play more than 10 minutes in a game over the last 2 years. So and Celtic are hardly the best for updating us on what's going on in the academy. So it's a bit tough to keep up with the players' development. I think you don't know anything about what's going on with some of your top youth players, and that's one of the more frustrating things for me this season. Because I'd have liked to have seen more of them integrate than what we've seen. So I think you've got to take it as a positive that it is that he came on for 10 minutes and bagged a goal, really.
He did do that. That's someone at the start of his career, someone nearing the end of his career is Scott Brown, and it was his final game at Celtic Park tonight. Whether he plays at the weekend, I think he probably would against his old team, but certainly tonight was his final game for Celtic at Celtic Park. We won't talk about his performance because that's not really the main issue here. I thought he was kind of all right, but the only thing I've got written down is that he came off and he gave his armband to James Forrest, which I thought was a wee bit interesting. Just when Christopher Ayer's on the pitch, maybe I'm just reading something into that isn't there to be read into. Who knows? Maybe Forrest will be vice captain next season. But Scott Brown tonight, it was all about him, Ryan. And did you think Celtic went over the top? Do you think they didn't do him enough stuff in the lead up to the game and the commentary tonight? Because for me it was quite Brown-centric, and again I'm going to sound really cynical here, but you almost wonder if Celtic are just doing that to an extent to kind of get rid of a bit of the criticism maybe they've had in recent weeks and months.
Yeah, I thought a wee bit... bits of it were a bit over the top, especially the thing above Celtic Park, the Great Scott. I never really liked that. I thought it was quite cheesy when I saw it. I was kind of like cringing when I seen that. I mean, to be fair, it is the sort of end of an era when it comes to Scott Brown, so I can see why they're making such a big deal out of it. But I mean, it's not as if he's retiring. He's going to Aberdeen next season. He'll be playing for Aberdeen, so it'll be like a goodbye for now. But we'll see you soon next season if he can get a game for Aberdeen. That is, because I know they've got quite a congested midfield.
Yeah. Anything else, guys, from the actual game tonight before we move on to just the other kind of stuff that's happened at the club today?
No, for me. One game closer at the end of the season. That's what we've been growing about since as far back as January. We said that as soon as we, I think it might have been the St Mirren game or something after that, sometime close to the end of January, we've been saying, my God, one game closer at the end of the season, almost every single game. Now we're one away, so it's time to start getting excited. We don't have to watch this team for the next few months.
I know, Kenny's pointing out as well, he's saying, wasn't it nice of them to turn up for Bruni's last game? Pity they didn't have the decency to do it for the season. Absolutely raging with that season, but dancing a jig now, it's nearly over.
He's good on you, Kenny.
Did you see, I don't know if you guys have come across it, because we obviously come on right after full time, but Scott Brown apparently swore live on Celtic TV right after the game.
I just saw a bit on Twitter.
Just put Scooter on, F me, is what he's saying. Apparently Celtic TV, or I don't know if it was Celtic TV or the Tannoy at the stadium, put Scooter on. So he got his wish in the end. Moving on to the other stuff that's happened today, it's kind of hard to do a live reaction on Celtic and not touch on some of the stuff that's happened today. It's never our position in 67 Hail Hail to kind of really talk about the political element of what's happening in the world at the moment. But when it concerns Celtic and it concerns a relationship between the Celtic support and the actual club and the board more specifically, I think it is worth highlighting for anyone who doesn't know, which is probably 0.5% of you watching this. Celtic allowed, I think, fans into the ground in the last couple of days to display banners to basically praise Scott Brown and thank him for his 14-year service at the club. The Green Brigade section decided that they would place a big, huge Scott Brown banner, and along with this they would show solidarity and support to the people of Palestine. You've probably seen this on Twitter. Celtic then came out with a pretty stinging statement where they referred to a small group exploiting the fact the club had given access in good faith. Pretty strong terms used by the club. They took down the Palestine flags, and yeah, that's basically where we stand. The North Curve of the Green Brigade did then come out with another statement later in the day. I don't have that on me. Obviously, as I say, the politics will be discussed by people far more qualified than us, but in terms of the Celtic element of it, Ryan, it's just more evidence of a disconnect between the board and the support.
Yeah, it's a relationship that's, I would say, has been sort of fractured this season, or more in the public eye this season, that it has been sort of fractured. It's not the best look, especially when you don't even mention in your statement that the fans actually put up a tribute for Brown, and the statement made it look as if they only put up flags for Palestine rather than anything else, which annoyed me more than the fact that they took the flags down, to be honest. But no, I thought the response from the Green Brigade was quite measured and quite educated, and don't want to put your colours to the mast too much, but I agreed with what they were saying with regards to their points that they made. It's something that Dominic Mackay, I think, next season has to work on, getting the sort of relationship between the fans and the board back to a good level, because it's definitely been fractured this season with numerous incidents that have happened over the course of the season, both on and off the park.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, and obviously we don't speak for the Celtic support, but me personally, my biggest issue wasn't the club taking down the flags. I would have expected that from Celtic, because that is what we've got from Celtic over the last number of years. The biggest issue for me was that statement when they basically, washed their hands of the small minority that they referred to. They spoke about the access being given in good faith, and a small group exploited this. Huge, strong comments made by the club. The kind of comments you would get, the kind of comments Sparta Prague should have been making after, their fans, put all those horrible racist messages towards Glenn Kamara. That's the kind of words you would expect from a club whose, a section of that club's support have been racist or done something else, terrible. What happened earlier today didn't deserve the reaction from the club, and the club have just shot themselves in the foot yet again for me. They're a club that's obsessed, or a board that's obsessed with looking good. They want to look good with everything, and the irony is that they just don't. Anything they do, comes off badly for them at the moment. And you're right, Ryan. I mean, a huge change is needed there, and it is obviously, you're hoping that Dominic Mackay can change that, but you're also worried because he's now at the club. He's started his role. Yes, he may just be shadowing, but he's started his role. He's been paid by the club now, and these things are still happening. So it's not really got on to or off to a good start. David, how much needs to happen to kind of solve this or sort this gap between the club and the fans at the moment? Is it as simple as just bringing in an Eddie Howe and changing things round next season, or does more have to happen?
It's quite funny because as a massive rebuild we've got on the pitch, there's a lot of work needing done to try and soothe supporters off the pitch and try and get more of a connection between the club and the support. But it is funny what on-field success can do for the connection between a club and its supporters. Appointing Eddie Howe won't make everything go away. Appointing any any manager that the fans want won't make everything go away. If they recruit well over the summer and start winning games and start winning these derbies again and start performing well in Europe, my goodness, a lot of it will go away. A lot of it. Now, there are things off the pitch, such as the lack of engagement with supporters, the lack of, I think sheer ignorance at times from the club. I think they have massive issues that can't totally be eradicated via results, and that's where Mackay will have to come up with some sort of strategy. That's his job. It's not down to me to tell him how he's going to engage with supporters and how he's going to improve the club's current policy, because we don't know the details of. We don't truly know the inner workings inside Parkhead of how they feel towards supporters. Not really. We can all speculate and we can all make guesses on what the policy is based on how they respond to us. But it's down to Mackay to work out what's going on just now and what needs changed. For me, I think a lot of problems this season would have been amended if they just sacked Neil Lennon quicker. I think not doing that led to an absolute a poisonous sort of atmosphere between the club and its supporters that just grew arms and legs, and all of a sudden apathy was built. So it's down to Dominic Mackay to work out how he's going to solve that element of things. But if we can get some results on the field quickly next season, then you'll start to see a much more positive atmosphere about the place.
I felt as if I'd slipped into a different universe earlier. About 6:30. When did the game start? Game started at 6:30. So say about 5:30 when Celtic were tweeting out their awards, and you're getting Players Player of the Year, you're getting Young Player of the Year, you're getting Player of the Year, and all that nonsense. And every single tweet is getting ratioed with the flag of Palestine and other comments from people, and you feel like you've become desensitized to this whole thing, because every single Celtic tweet now just gets that. But we're witnessing like a club trying to do their end of season awards amidst this furore from fans. I mean, here's one for you. Why are we even doing season awards this year?
Absolutely.
I don't know if they've got contractual agreements, sponsors and stuff like that. But why are you having awards after this shambles of a season? What message does that send out that anyone at Celtic should be getting, rewarded for what they've done this season? I don't care. Ayer, Turnbull, no one deserves any credit. No one comes out this season with any credit for me.
I'll tell you what, for anyone watching that hasn't seen, you go back on Celtic's Twitter page and look at Ayer's face as he holds up that award. That tells a story. He does not want to be standing there holding that up. And I think you probably find that the rest of them were the exact same. Well, maybe apart from Sorrow, he looked like he was absolutely buzzing. But other than that, how can you even accept an award for how the season's gone? Even Player of the Year for Turnbull. Turnbull's had a fine sort of 6 months or 5 months, however long he's been in the team. But Player of the Season suggests to me someone who's been doing it since August. And I totally agree with you, Hamish. If there was any scope to cancel these awards whatsoever, they should have done it.
Imagine the message that sends out. Imagine, put a tweet out saying, we will not be having our season awards this year. Simple as that. Fans can read into why. Everyone knows why. It's because we've had a shocker of a season. But once again, Ryan, it's just, tone deaf from the club.
It is tone deaf for a number of tone deaf stuff this season. It feels as if we're rewarding, I don't want to say losers, but sort of losing mentality this season by giving them Players of the Year. There's been no Players of the Year. They've all been part of this collective failure that's been the 10 in a row season that was supposed to happen but didn't. It's fell flat in its face. It was nice to see Sorrow still smiling though. I mean, I'd like to see what he doesn't smile at, because he smiles at most things. But I don't really see the point. Maybe they were contractually obliged to carry it out, or sponsors or that, but it's one of those things that we would have been better just sweeping under the carpet or under the rug.
I don't know how well in advance they set the dates, but I think the timing's quite interesting, isn't it? Sort of shoved before the St Johnstone game. Usually there's a bigger deal made at the Player of the Year awards than what they have done this season. So you'll probably find that even Celtic have tried to tackle it in a different way, which probably shows that they recognise if they could get away with it, then they might have cancelled it. So it's difficult to say. Maybe we shouldn't go all in on them too much for not cancelling it if we don't know if there are contractual obligations. But it just doesn't read the room, does it? Having these kind of awards, it just doesn't sit right with us.
That's been our biggest problem this season. Our failure to read the room has been highlighted for all to see in the current.
Do you think that's going to change, Ryan? Do you think that's going to change?
I mean, Dominic Mackay has this degree in communication, media and communication, so you hope that his sort of influence will permeate onto other members of the team, of the social media team and that. But I mean, we don't really know until he's in the door fully. I mean, I know he's started his role just now, but he's not started till the 1st of July in his official role, in his official capacity. So I guess the jury's out just now.
Yeah, it's all going to depend on what Dominic Mackay's priorities are as not just a Celtic employee, but as a Celtic fan. And, you know, people act as though Peter Lawwell was some sort of stuttering buffoon. He's an incredibly intelligent businessman, you know, and the fact that, you know, Dominic Mackay's now in the door doesn't just automatically mean everything's going to get better. He might have the same priorities as Peter Lawwell. He might think fan engagement, or the level of fan engagement that we want to see, he might think that that's not necessary. Maybe Celtic's balance sheets are fine, you know, the way they are without needing to increase how they deal with the supporters. It all depends what Dominic Mackay's priorities are and what he's getting told off Dermot Desmond. All things that we just don't know.
Yeah. He's a king here. He's the guy who's going to make the decision. Sorry, Ryan, in you come.
I think one of the most encouraging things that I've seen from Dominic Mackay ever since he came in January, I know people go and do their research, was the fact that if you type his name on YouTube, you'll see he done loads of podcasts with Scottish Rugby. Now that already is more approachable than Peter Lawwell, who maybe only talks to the media once or twice a season. The fact that he's approachable in that sort of way, the fact that he took the time to sit down with the official Scottish Rugby medias, it's definitely encouraging for the future, you would say. I just hope that's implemented in some sort of capacity at Celtic, because it would be a breath of fresh air to hear from higher up more often.
Definitely. Right, I think we'll leave it there, guys. It's been fun. I've quite enjoyed this kind of 3-person format. I think we're going to keep this going next season, but we will have plans announced in due course. Ryan, you're getting a lot of loving from the comments. You're getting your good pal Ryan 118's been in touch. This is a massive signing for the great 67 Hail Hail. Nice to see you, McGinley, sir. So it's good you're getting the support. He's not the only one. There's loads of others as well. It's been good to have you on, David. Appreciate it as well. Tomorrow's a big day for 67 Hail Hail. We will be taking part in Scott Brown's press conference. We'll be able to ask Scott Brown a question, hopefully. I'll get to ask Scott Brown a question. We'll have a video of that tomorrow night. We've got Jackie McNamara's thoughts on Scott Brown and the future of the Celtic captaincy as well. Remember to subscribe to 67 Hail Hail if you're just coming across the channel or whatever, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care and hail hail.